going on, everybody? C4, welcome back to the channel. A little bit late. I was out and about watching the games at a buddy's place, so I knew I wasn't going to be able to get the quick, immediate post-game reaction here from the Philadelphia Eagles 17-11 defeat against the 49ers. It's frustrating. Never want to see that happen. It's such a weird game. Like, I'm glad kind of the Niners closed that game out, how they did close that game out, because if they didn't, we're really, like, for most of the third and the fourth, they controlled the clock. Philly just couldn't get off the field. Because for the first half and half of the third quarter, Philly was a better team. Like, I would almost say that Philly was dominating, even though they were losing. I was absolutely like, man, Philly got this game. We had I guess, in hindsight now, we need those plays. They had the bomb to Rager. That was a touchdown that wasn't. You had a 91-yard pass to Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins season, man, he's not only good in Madden, he's good in real life. It's awesome. But then you don't score off of that. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating as Tyson Williams, oh my God, he almost got me a touchdown. He extended. I'm watching the Ravens game right now. He extended, fumbled it, and actually didn't get the touchdown. That's very disappointing. Fuck. But yeah, for this game here, I think Philly dominated. Like, I've never seen Philly play that well and not be leading at half. They were down 7-3 at half. And in the second half, the run game there for the San Francisco 49ers took over. Injuries for the Eagles. Brandon Graham's looking like a torn Achilles out for the year. And at his age, I would almost argue an Achilles is equal to, if not worse, and harder to come back from than like a torn ACL. So that, I think Brandon Brooks picked up a little bit of an injury, which, maybe could make the Landon Dickerson selection look a little bit better in hindsight, potentially. Hopefully Brooks isn't gone out for too long because he is one of the best right guards in football. But, positives from this game for the Philadelphia Eagles is that the Niners, regardless of, the big question mark at quarterback with Jimmy Garoppolo, Niners are still a playoff caliber team. Like, they're absolutely, most people are projecting the 49ers to really be, competitive and almost locks for one of those wildcard spots. And the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles hung in there, and the Eagles were underdogs, most people, myself included, had Philly at like 5 wins this year. If they're hanging in with the Niners, they're going to be hanging in with pretty much all the teams that come on the schedule, maybe minus like Kansas City and stuff like that. And we got a big bounce back game potentially here against Dallas. Like, if we can find a way to beat Dallas, who got a skin of their teeth victory this week over the Chargers, the last second field goal. It's a quick game that you can forget. If Philly can beat Dallas next week, you're going to forget about this Niner loss. You're going to be like, all right, there's some positives in this Niner loss. Jalen Hurts looked pretty good. Some big misses on Jalen Hurts' part, but ultimately the big play was there from Jalen Hurts. And let's get through the review. Let's get through the quick review. It's not going to be a long video because I already know I'm late. There's not really a whole lot that I can react in the moment of. But let's see. Jalen Hurts was 12 of 23, 190 yards, no touchdowns passing, and no interceptions. He had 82 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown. So, Buck will just be generous. Buck, 250 and a touchdown for Jalen Hurts. I think there was a couple underthrows, a couple misses, but that's Jalen Hurts, man. And I think, he's got to be a quarterback that as long as, this is a John Madden analysis, but for Jalen Hurts in particular, because he does miss some plays that, there's a good section of quarterbacks that don't miss those plays. It's like, as long as Jalen Hurts can keep making more plays than he's not, I think he's very viable for the Philadelphia Eagles. And he had, a live arm here. There's a couple deep balls that I think he made more difficult because he underthrew it, not overthrowing, being able to lead the wide receiver. There's a couple, like 2 to Devontae that he should have had, but not a bad game for Jalen Hurts, and I'm still confident in Jalen Hurts. I think you look at the landscape of the NFC East, Dallas Cowboys made out of glass, losing a lot of players to injury. Then again, Philly this week definitely stinks, losing. I don't think Brandon Graham's. I'm not gonna try to quantify the potential losses, but if you told me C4, we're either going to lose Brandon Graham or we're going to be losing Brandon Brooks, I think I'd probably rather, Brandon Brooks stay in the lineup. I'm not going to say I'd rather one of those guys get hurt, but luckily we had depth of those spots, even though Derek Burnett's fucking idiot. Oh my God, those 2 personal fouls Philly had, those were killer, man. And Derek Burnett's always been kind of guilty of that. He's a hot-headed player, and I think that's ultimately why someone like Josh Sweat got the contract over someone like Derek Burnett, because Derek Burnett has showed his ceiling, and he's shown that he can have the brain fighter too, and Josh Sweat hasn't really done that yet. And now, I guess, if there is a lengthy Brandon Graham injury, what better time than now to start seeing a return on investment on that new contract extension for Josh Sweat. But back to the player reviews for Jalen Hurts. I'm going to give him a B. Like, it's trending towards me, so a B minus, because I really do feel like he left some plays out there. but executed the offense, and that's it's kind of what you need there from Jalen Hurts. Miles Sanders, 56 yards, 14 for gain. Well, like the run game was not impressive. Run game was inconsistent. Some of the run plays, like I felt like Philly was way too conservative in that first half. Run game failed us today. Was not particularly good. Tough front, by all means. Full credit to the Niners. It's a very good defense, minus really their secondary. So, I mean, the run game, I'm going to give them a C. 4.2 yards. Miles Sanders didn't have a bad game, but ultimately not much there from the run game. So both those guys, I'll just group the run game in B. Wide receivers, 2 catches, 117 yards. Quez Watkins, you already know. Quez Watkins is a stud. Other than that, though, that was really the extent of our big plays. You had the play that wasn't with Jalen Reagor, and I haven't looked a whole lot at that yet. I've just been watching football all day. It's what you do on Sundays, but a lot of people are kind of critiquing. That's maybe the release of Jalen Reagor, and he could have ran that route more in line in the field and not stepped out of bounds, which, again, that's a guy, that's probably one of the only guys on the Philadelphia Eagles you don't want to come back to the table and be like, and knock him for something. He's a guy that just needs all the confidence, needs to be making plays. And the more missed plays he makes, I think I saw somewhere on Twitter, I think it was Bleeding Green Nation or whatever. It was like, man, he's kind of like the Nelson Aguilar in a way. Like, he's not have necessarily the drops that Aguilar's having, but Aguilar would make a play, and then, for every play Nelson Aguilar would make, there'd be a negative play that was in his control to potentially dictate. And you are starting to see a little bit of that there with Jalen Reagor. But I don't really knock him too much. It's a tough play. But receivers, really outside of Quez Watkins, didn't have to do a whole lot here today, and I'll give them a C minus. I don't really remember too many drops, but again, maybe there could have been plays up there, highlight reel plays that were on the board that none of our receivers made downfield. So I'll give them a C minus. Kicking game, Jake Elliott did miss a kick. In the grand scheme of things, could have been important, impactful, but I don't really remember too much from the special teams. At least not enough to knock them. Defensively, just wasn't good enough in the second half. Wasn't good enough. I don't know if we're going to need necessarily to rally. Brandon Graham going out with his injury. Who knows what that means for Brandon Graham's career. Hopefully he can rebound and play some more snaps for the Philadelphia Eagles. But maybe something like that could be enough to kick this defense in the ass. They just got worn out, man. There's super long drives from the 49ers in the second half. They couldn't stop the pitches, which, as much as I'm actually not really a Kyle Shanahan fan, he runs the C4 offense to an absolute T. And I appreciate the fact that he uses the toss. As someone that spent all of their fantasy waiver budget on Elijah Mitchell in both my leagues because my running backs suck, even though his game wasn't amazing, I appreciate the amount of touches that he was getting. But I think they were a very predictable offense that the San Francisco 49ers were running, and Philly just couldn't do anything about it. It was just one of those things where the Niners were able to, in the second half, 100% the Eagles kicked the shit out of the 49ers in the first half. Regardless of the score, Eagles were an infinitely better team. But 49ers just spun that table around, pulled a 180, and just dominated the Philadelphia Eagles at the line of scrimmage. Fletcher Cox, Fletcher Cox has never been a big box score guy. That's kind of been the mantra of the Philadelphia Eagles defense. Everyone knows Fletcher Cox and Brandon Ingram are good, but they're never guys that put up 10, 15 sacks a season. And it feels like Fletcher Cox used to still, without getting a bunch of sacks, he would still take games over on the inside. He was unblockable, would force rush passes, incompletions, tackles for loss. And, we have not got really anything out of Fletcher Cox. And, maybe there's someone out here that super analyzes Eagles film and he's getting double teamed every play and he's freeing up other people. Maybe that's the case. But for how much money Fletcher Cox is getting played, I'm a massive Fletcher Cox fan. But, he's just, we need him to step up, especially now that Brandon Graham's out. Fletcher Cox is getting paid money to be a difference maker. And when was the last time Fletcher Cox took a game over? This was a game. If Fletcher Cox could dominate the middle of the line of scrimmage there, and he's not going up against Trent Williams, the interior of that 49ers offensive line is probably the weaker spot of it. And he wasn't taking over the game. They were still able to run it. Credit to the Niners. There was a lot of tosses and stuff, so they're trying to run away from Fletcher Cox. But there wasn't enough pressure. There was not enough duress on someone like Jimmy Garoppolo, who's not a great quarterback. You got to put him under pressure to make him make mistakes. And they pretty much let the 49ers dink and dunk it. Niners were not overly aggressive. And I was someone from at least a fantasy neutral perspective. I have Deebo Samuel. He had a pretty good game, but they just weren't taking shots. It was such I was watching the game with a buddy who's a Niners fan. They're just that's the Niners offense, man. We are not going to be over exciting. We're just going to throw screen passes, dink and dunks, and just be efficient and move the football. That's what they did. And that was the decision made. The defense, Hargrave had a pretty good game that I really remember. I mean, actually, I think Grenard Avery made a couple plays. Might have been his best game for Philadelphia. You actually heard his name called out, so that's a progress for him. But it just wasn't a good enough performance from the defense. I mean, you kind of look at this as like, if you know the Niners are a playoff team, you only held them to 17 points. Like, the defense didn't cost you this game, but I think the bigger number there is just the time of possession in the fourth quarter and the third, just really the second half, right? While they did give up only 17 points, they just could not get Jalen Hurts back on the field. They couldn't do their job. And I think this loss here kind of falls a little bit on the defense, way more than the offense. But I think the biggest thing, what I want to be my closing thought from this Eagles loss is a guy that's gone to the Super Bowl, a guy that's been uber competitive with the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. He outcoached a guy that, being completely honest, 99% of the Philadelphia Eagles fans didn't know who they were this time last year. Like, I don't think I didn't know. You could have told me at the beginning of last season, C4, who is Nick Sirianni? And I would go, the guy that's playing Tony Soprano in the new Sopranos, right? I would not, and I think that's the sentiment of most of the fan base. So on this day, while I'm still buying in to Nick Sirianni, and I'm still seen enough from this game last game that there was some good. There's some sense of optimism. This guy could be a great coach. Seems like he's getting the players to buy in. But on today, in a very close matchup, the guy that's gone to the Super Bowl, the guy that's got a lot of playoff wins, the guy that's regarded as one of the better offensive minds in football in Kyle Shanahan, outcoached the coach that 99% of the NFL didn't know last year. So, I mean, hey, luckily we got Dallas next week. Great bounce back opportunity. Philly's able to go to 2-1 next week, beat the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think too many people are going to be down in the dumps about this performance, and you can kind of just focus more so on the positives, because there absolutely was some positives, because Philly were the underdogs for a reason. The Niners were not supposed to kick the shit out of the Eagles, but Philly made that game really close, and I think a lot of people were a little bit surprised that Philly was able to keep it that close with a team like San Francisco. I just think maybe with a little bit better play calling from Siri. I think the play calling is what let the Philadelphia Eagles down. Having that 91-yard catch with Quez Watkins, getting 0 points, and you do like the Philly special trick play and kicking field goals. It's just. I think ultimately that was the tiebreaker in this game. Was 49ers were a better coach team on the day. It is what it is, man. Hopefully, again, quick turnaround. We got a primetime game against Dallas. Great time to bounce back. Hopefully that happens. But let me know what you guys think about this game in the comment section below. I know I might have mentioned a little bit about Super Bowl Sunday and Pinks. I just didn't have enough time. That'll be out to you guys tomorrow. So keep an eye on your sub box for that one. And I'll see you guys back in the next one. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.